So you may know Qigong as being a lot of different movements and exercises, but there is a lot of internal arts that go on in Qigong that you may not necessarily have been taught. And these internal arts are very important because it affects a great deal of the benefits in Qigong. So it's good to learn these subtle details that I'd like to share with you. For one, it's good to know when you're doing Qigong movement that whenever we do a Yang movement, we expand out. So, for example, if I'm moving my arms like so, it's a little bit more like an expanding, like you're stretching in the morning. Not locking, but kind of stretching up the whole body. So if I were just to move my arms up here, it has an effect, but if I really stretch without locking, just like you're waking up, and then I relax and release. So you get the Yang, which is expanding, and the Yin movement, which is contracting and relaxing. So it's an opening and closing, and it's that yin-yang, expanding, contracting theme that you see throughout Qigong and Tai Chi. So you might find whenever the hands come out, just a slight flex of the palm whenever it comes out in a Yang movement. A Yang movement is usually the upward or the extending movement. The Yin is the contracting motion. So whenever it's Yang, it's a little bit more contracted, but not overly contracted. So that's an interesting point that may not be taught always in Qigong. Another point is the hands are tools. So even when we're moving our hands, if we think of our hands, they're very sophisticated tools. If we think of our hands connecting with this entire field around us, we're interconnected with this field. It's part of us and we're part of it. So your hand is actually often, you'll see pushing motion. You have a mental pressing when that happens. There's pushing and there's pressing. Like you say, I was pressing into the ground or I was pressing upward. And the pushing could be pushing downward. So when I'm pushing in front of my body, I'm actually pushing through the body and I'm clearing the energy. So you'll see this type of a movement in one way or another, moving down through Qigong, in Qigong practice. But if you put that mental intention of pushing, you're pushing through the brain, through the head, through the pineal and pituitary, down through the thyroid, down through the lungs, the heart, the diaphragm. You can virtually clear that pathway. So that's one of the reasons why the hands move down. You see this so often, it's clearing this channel. It's important to know that, know and develop that awareness of moving the qi with your hands. The next thing is threading, and that is whenever you do an expanded motion, you move with your mind the qi through the joints, through the fingers, through the legs, through the feet, to the hands, whenever it's out. Then, when you do the yin movement, contracting in, you're moving it back in reverse. And so this way, you're moving the qi through the body. So that's a skill you develop. And how do we move the qi? The mind leads the qi, and the qi follows Qigong rule. So it's like drawing a pathway in the sand so the water can flow. You think of the qi, and you don't just imagine it, but you use your mind and body together. It's coming up into my feet, then into my ankles, up through my legs, up through my body, and expanding. But at the same time, you're not thinking so much because that'll block the qi flow. It's more of a feeling. You feel the qi. So that may be why it's not taught, because if you get too much into thinking, it blocks the flow. So there's a saying, don't forget, don't pursue, that Master Hao taught. And that means you're aware of moving the qi, but you're not pursuing it. You're not running after it. It has its own flow, and you're just guiding it, guiding that flow. So that's called threading, and that's something you can learn to develop in practice. And then a final point that I think is important is becoming aware of some of the key energy gates. I'm sure you've heard of Sha Dan Tian at the abdomen, but are you aware of the Buddha palm points, Lao Gong, right at the center of the palm, and the points at the center of the ball of the feet, and then of course the Bai Wei at the top of the head. Now, we work a lot with the 5 points and more points in Qigong, but if you work with these 5 points and the Dantian, you learn how to draw in Qi or expel Qi through these points. And the palms are ways of having Qi drawn in. You can receive through these. And I call it the inflow sensation. You need to learn how to draw in the Qi, draw in the Qi through the head, through the hands, and the feet, from the earth, and when they call it the heaven, the sky, and the stars, all of that field moves through us. Then you need to be able to move it out. So Qi, it's not just about getting a lot of Qi, it's about keeping the Qi moving. You bring it in and bring it out. Same with our breath. So you can make it synonymous with the breath. As you breathe in, you draw in through these points. As you breathe out, you can push down to the abdomen. And even though it's in the abdomen, you're still expelling as you breathe out. You can think of it going down and compacting here. There's different ways to draw in the Qi. You can draw in through the pores of the body. But these 5 points are very significant to learn to develop the inflow sensation and the expelling of the Qi as well. So you can look at some of my other videos. They explain this a little bit more. I hope you enjoy this.